mwezi wa 12 mwaka 2021. Natumai kwamba uko salama. As usual, I request that when you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. Another like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is the Aukot that begins now. Please like, share, and let us know where you're watching us from. Tuko na daktari Ekuru Aukot, tuko na mheshimiwa Irungu Nyakera ambaye alikuwa unajua sijui PS ni principal secretary ama ni permanent secretary. Principal secretary. Uko na shanga permanent, then you're not supposed to have left.
After the 2010 there are no more permanent secretaries.
They are now just
They became principals. Okay, principals. Okay, icona principals. Karibuni sana wanijeni, please like, share and let us know where you're watching us from. This is our last show. This today on the 16th of December 2021 for the year. Not our last show forever. Our last show for the year. And you are on a 12 view. So tuambie how the year has been like. We review the week, we review the year as well. And we try to look into the future as we get towards the general elections. How will things look like? Please like, share, and let us know where you're watching us from. Kama kawaida, lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu kirudi basi na kuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. Thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this program this morning as we have this conversation. May it edify the public of this country, for you pray, trusting and believing in Jesus' name. Amen. Haya, nimeona Sholem Kibet Benachi. I'm good morning, tuned in to tackle. I'm always ready for the show. Asanteni sana. Please when you join, like, share and let us know where you're watching us from. Tutaenda masokoni, tulipa madeni haraka upesi. Acha nione kwanza sijui nikana nani wanaona wameamka kwa sababu nikichelewa nitawakosa hapo. Gaki Faith anasema good morning to you. Gaki Faith all the way from Thika. Emmanuel Terem, good morning good people, good morning to you. Emmanuel Terem amusha Lona Terem on the Moses Niganet Kebene Chiptop Kibiri Reds. Keep good morning to you. Amos Mbugwa tuned in from the city of Nakuru, proud to be almost karibu sana Amos Mbugwa. Huyu jamaa wetu wa Diaspora ako nyumbani. Niliona pia Joel Kips ako nyumbani pia. Tulikuwa kwa sherehe Joel Kips over the weekend. Tulienda kutafutia Joel Kips bibi huko Nandi. We went there. Some of the tacklers were there. Ekuru, we were expecting you to be there, but you ghosted us. I think because of short notice, and you also away. You traveled in.
Yes.
But one of our tacklers got itched over the weekend from Australia.
Okay.
Kips, yeah.
Very
so tulikuwa pale Mosoria. Chepterit.
Yeah, mwambie in the spirit of feeling the world as God said to Adam and Eve. Lazima sasa achangamkie sasa. Achangie.
Haya,
dunia bado ni kubwa.
The challenge is on you. Wamesema kwamba ongezeni dunia ijae na kura pia tunatafuta tyranny of numbers. Dan Amani Muko 2022, good morning to you. Langat Geoffrey, good morning watching from Kisumu. Ajun Junior, James Jamal watching from Embakasi. Josh Jamal watching from Embakasi. Wanaongana maamka ni wazee waamka kidogo. Na leo majamaa waamka leo mapema. Pokeni kwanza pole za mzee Aman Manyora. Amesema imemlemea ambaye yuko Nairobi. Miaka kidogo ni kama imemwacha. Kwa hivyo tumesema acha mzee apumzike, lakini amesema poleni kana atakuja tena siku nyingine. Watu ni wengi hapa kidogo leo. Ajun na kuona Sebastian Kibet, good morning kiongozi, you are number one fan. Sebastian, karibu sana kijana wangu. Rosemary Kabugi, good morning. Rob Kipto, good morning kiongozi, and the brilliant team tackle watching live from Greentown. Simon Samuelson, I'm tuned in from Nax Vegas. Kipkos get you here. Good morning Saken, good morning Liz Mburu, always watching, joining from Meru Town 012. Sige Kipro GB, Shadi from Dallas, nice work buddy. Asante sana our guys from Diaspora. Salima Wambui Njeri, say I too again watching from Kera Papon Road. Kera Rapon Road, that is in Gonkaren, okay. Nelly Mutai Chelagat, good morning, watching from Eldoret. Mheshimiwa Irungu. Jambo.
Good morning.
Happy Jamhuri.
Ilipita bado. Najua nimesikia ukisema 26th of December. Umesha tukosesha hata Christmas.
Pitisha Christmas bwana. Ndio nimesikia. Najua sherehe ishagi. Good to see you lakini.
Asante.
You've been well?
Very well.
Nimeona juzi report umetoa ile matunda yako ya KTDA ambayo umekuwa ukipigania. What are some of the gains that you would want to speak about this morning, even before we delve into the day?
Actually a lot. I think one is people thought that it cannot be done. But then it was done. And it was done by just consistency and the fact that the farmers are the ones who are behind us. And it's the farmers that who are looking for this change. And we got a lot of support from the president, that I have to say. And because to tackle and the cartels and the individuals who are so entrenched was not a mean feat. Some of the changes we've seen, one is the monthly went from 16 shillings to 21 shillings per month per kilo. And actually we expect it to almost double. Based once the Tea Act, which is currently in court, is cleared. We found this year is the first year that farmers got fertilizer subsidy for about 700 shillings per bag per farmer. The tea prices in Mombasa are actually trading at around 65% high from the last since June. And that price currently we are hitting around $3.4, $3.5, $3.6. Some factories hitting as much as $4. That price has never been seen, not just in the last 5 years, even 10 years, even before. We're getting new buyers in Mombasa auction. In terms of the directors, the farmers were able now to elect their own directors using the one man, one vote. Before they were being forced to use to vote based on the number of shares that somebody has. Then we carried out the first forensic audit at KTDA level, and we were able to establish a lot of theft and plunder of farmers' money. Currently now, each of the 70 factories is now carrying out a forensic audit inside the factory to see what then we've also seen farmers used to be paid on the 24th, 25th of the month for their previous month. Now they're paid on the 5th.
Wow.
Yeah. So the farmers cannot even believe it. Yeah, because they
can't believe it.
They can't believe it. Yeah, because even them, they thought that there's one farmer I met 2 days ago at the factory at Tikumbe. He's an old mzee. He said that they had been trying to bring change in KTDA from 1984. Yeah, I was 2 years old then. Yeah, and he's saying what he's seeing now, he can't even believe that it's happened. Yeah, and there's still more that is happening, and that's really what we are pushing for. And that's why now we are seeing farmers from the coffee side. We are doing the same. We are working closely with them, with the government, on the coffee bill and all these other things that are coming. Because we're saying this year the farmers has to be the ones to benefit.
Okay. Wakulima ndio waweze kupata faida. Haya, daktari, jambo.
Jambo sana.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Jamhuri.
Well, yeah, it came and went.
Ikaja ikaenda.
But we are back to our usual problems, and congratulations Nyakera for a good job on behalf of the farmers.
Yeah.
I think if he was running government, maybe farmers would be billionaires by now.
Now he wants to run the government, the county government of Murang'a.
Well, we wish him very well, and I think he's capable. But that's exactly a person who can demonstrate, given the opportunity, what they can do, even that small way. So we hope that can be translated into the national arena.
All right. 50 years post-independence, 50 years post-Jamhuri, 58 post-Jamhuri. We had a Jamhuri ceremony at the Ekuru Gardens. The politics and the politics of the day seem to have taken the day. But anyway, looking back 58 years down the line, what would we say has been the gains and the losses?
So maybe we should remind ourselves as Kenyans the promises of the supposedly founding fathers of this nation. And I remember at independence or Madaraka, they promised that they will eradicate disease, ignorance, and poverty. And of course, many years down the road, there's been attempts to talk about free education, healthcare, and all that. But I think it is still a problem. Diseases are still ravaging Kenyans. Even now, as we think in this COVID, you will imagine that maybe a government that is, seized of a pandemic like this will take some drastic measures. So we still have a problem of disease. Education is becoming extremely expensive for the ordinary folks. People are not even able to afford, basics schools. I mean, now it's become a business. Before kids can sit for examination, you will hear teachers say that they have to pay clear the school fees first. So really there's nothing free, and we have not been able to eradicate it. In fact, I think the tragedy of our nation is that we keep on uneducating the masses because it's now been commercialized. Poverty is on the increase, on the rise. I mean, just even picking from the story from a PS, Nyakera has explained, you can imagine many farmers before maybe someone like him stepped in to try and negotiate for them a better pay. I mean, for a very, very long time, despite really toiling, in the farms, I mean, they were not getting any gain. So poverty levels have gone very high in this country. Again, I'm really reminded of the wisdom of J.M. Kariuki, in 1975 when he, or just before he died, when he talked over a country of 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars. I think the truth be told that even today, I mean, people are just begging. I'm sure you can see in this city a lot of beggars on the road. So poverty has gone up. We don't see any improvement. But yes, at the same time, you have got people who have really enriched themselves. They are wealthier than others. Corruption scandals are continuing to impoverish, the majority of Kenyans. If you just take theft of public money alone, Bitok, 50 years down the line, it has affected education, which is a promise we were given at independence that it will be eradicated. It has affected health. If you think about things like KEMSA, hospital bed and all those things. So theft of public money has affected those. We have not improved people's lives. There's a lot of joblessness now in Kenya. That's at about 70%, and that translates directly into poverty. Yes. So, and 50 years down the line, I wouldn't say that Kenya has done fairly well. We've only done what we call maybe the hardware. We can talk of the hardware. Today, people can see at infrastructure, but you see, infrastructure development must also translate economically, because what you're doing is you're using a lot of mechanicals than human intensive labor, and that's what will put money into people's pockets. So I'll still say that 50 years down the line, well, if I were to grade Kenya today, I'd probably say we are what? I'll give it a 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
Yes.
All right. What's your score? What are the gains and the losses? The hits and the misses. 58 years post Jamhuri.
I think I tend to agree quite a bit with the Mesh, my friend Ekuru, and that we should be at a different place, but also at the same time, I think we also know to where we used to be. I think instances of extreme poverty are no longer not in many places. They're still there, but not as much as they used to be. The country is a lot more opened up in terms of from an infrastructure point, as he has also mentioned, meaning that the opportunities then people are able to look for opportunities across the country. Our position in the region is still very high up, meaning that we've been able to brand our country the way we have. Our economy has suffered the last few years, but it's still it's one of those complex economies, meaning that we are able to sustain ourselves even if 1 or 2 or 3 sectors go down. We've seen even with the COVID, the tourism numbers coming down, hospitality on its deathbed, but still the economy has sustained. Of course, that led to huge job losses and the rest, but we still be able to sustain somehow. On education, I think education, the free education, which was a dream for many, is almost there with us. Okay. We just hope that we can also get to the point of having free secondary education of the day schools. There's still the little money that the parents are paying, about 15,000 a year on day schools, but I think government should find a way to actually take that out to ensure that we have 100% transition, because once you educate someone up to Form 4, truly that person, you've given them the tools to engage with the world and actually achieve their life ambition. So at least if we can get people all the way, also if we can also have polytechnics, at least another 1 year post-secondary, where people are able to go to post-secondary without paying for a year, so that they can be skilled, for carpenters to gardeners to everything. I think that will also allow for more skills that we can get in the country. Health, for me, I think it was not right to devolve health, because we've seen that I would say that the growth in health management was much better managed under the national government, especially on personnel management. I feel the counties have not been able to manage it well. There's some counties that have done a splendid job, but the problem is the majority of counties haven't, meaning then a majority of the Kenyans are forced to go into hospitals that are ill managed, that have a workforce that is not engaged and not ready to serve them, that where the equipment is not being maintained or even not there, where we don't have a proper focus on actually the health needs. We see a lot of the politicians going to the counties and offering the clinics, the health clinics, which is all well and good, but then it also shows the lack of proper health care within the counties. But it's still, I think, if you look at it from post-independence, we are getting somewhere. So I think in overall, I would say that we are not where we ought to be, but thank God we are also not where we used to be. So I'd probably give it a 6.
A 6.
A 6. Yeah.
Bitok, let me give a rejoinder.
Yes.
You know, I like being practical. It's also not right to be politically correct when there are realities amidst us. Today, to be honest with you, God forbid that you have a relative in hospitals or even have an accident, except maybe for Kenyatta National Hospital or the government hospitals. You will hardly be treated before first showing evidence of money. Okay. That's a fact. So that cannot be a country where we're saying we have improved in terms of health, because life ought to be the ultimate thing that we must save. Forget about private hospitals, because private hospitals are business.
Yes.
Government has refused to regulate private hospitals. So to that extent, I would say that health is still a big problem in this country. That's why I would still rate us maybe at 4%. I don't know where Nyakera, I know it comes from Muranga. I don't know about Muranga, but coming from the north myself, today we are dealing with famine. Even the wildlife in this country are dying because of famine and drought. Food security is not assured in our country anymore, and that's a fact. I mean, you go to villages today, people are begging. Even in this city of Nairobi, it's difficult for people to put 3 meals on the table per day. It's difficult. That's a fact. I mean, people will ask you for 50 bob, 10 bob, and all that. So that's a measure of poverty in our country. The other practical reality is, I mean, I run a private foundation called Ekuru Aukot Foundation, where I give back to nomadic and pastoralist kids. To be honest with you, we have sunk low. I remember during the time of Moi, when all of us went to school, we hardly paid any fees. In fact, there used to be a scheme called the Kenya School Equipment Scheme. I don't know whether you guys found it, but I did during my time. And that time, it was an outreach program by the government of Kenya that they will come to your school, however remote that was. And we used to be provided with, books, geometrical sets and all that. Today, that's not true. Today, the narrative is very, very clear that, one, you have to pay even for you to sit exams these days. That's a fact. I mean, even as early as this morning, I get SMS that say, "Oh, kids are doing exams. They're finishing by January, but they will not be allowed to sit." So cannot be a country 50 years later that actually has improved in education. And this is the narrative across. I look at our institutions of higher learning. You know, they have gone bankrupt and broke. These are government institutions. Moi University, JKUAT just the other day.
JKUAT the other day has gone under the water.
Has gone under. So really, on a balance, probably I think if I can paraphrase David Ndii in his advice to the nation regarding corruption, if you are an addict, the road to recovery must be initiated by accepting that I'm an addict. So let's accept that. I think our respective policies after independence have failed, and I will disagree with Nyakera respectively that we have improved. To be honest with you, we as nomadic pastoralists back in the day, speaking from my own context, we will never starve. We never used to starve because one, we had a lot of cattle and animals. We will drink milk. I mean, we will have plenty among us. We may not have everything that exists in the urbans, but poverty was not that. But look at, for example, the impact on countries these days. Climate change, for example, has affected even pastoralists. You know, water shortages, our failure to innovate, for example, to go, mechanical engineering in terms of food production. So really, I will just say that let's be very honest. If we want to really improve our country, we have had very bad policies. I hinted to you just the impact of corruption alone. Even by when the president himself admits that we are losing 2 billion every day, that means then other sectors, if not all, are actually suffering, which means actually we are backsliding. I mean, let's also speak about from Kibaki to Kenyatta. Kibaki, for example, inherited an economy that was really, really low. But because of the policies that he put in place, the economy improved. Now, the Kenyatta administration from 2013 has actually taken us backwards. By the time he's be leaving office, will be at what? Is it maybe estimated at 9 trillion national debt? That cannot be a country that things have improved. I mean, I could go on and on and on, give example, but let's talk about the reality. So that even as we celebrate Kenya at independence, today, a lot of our people are immigrating to the Middle East. They are being enslaved. They're being killed. You know, some of them disappear. Because what? The country cannot hold it anymore. So for me, I would rather we say, okay, how do we turn around this country to put it at the same measure as the so-called tiger economies of Southeast Asia, who we were at par with at independence. So maybe that's also the measure we must give ourselves. So what went wrong with us? How come we, in a way, appear to either have stagnated or backslided? You know, as opposed to our age mates who have actually done so well today. They are millionaires and they're all. What is it that we have invented 50 years later? We tried the Nyayo car, it went under. Irungu Nyakera now is fighting for farmers in the 21st century, the year 2021, at a time when Kenya used to really be one of our main dependent.
We used to call it the backbone of the economy.
Backbone of the economy. I mean, cash crop farming used to be a very big thing back in the days, but it has really gone down. It doesn't have to be fighting now for farmers to be paid 21 shillings per kilo per month. I mean, come on. This is serious. Why would we be taking our tea in sacks to England to be repackaged and be called English tea, when in England they cannot even grow one tea alone because of the weather condition? So really, what is our finishing? How many products can we say we are finishing in this country and we're calling this is really a Kenyan product and we sell it to the rest of the world? You know, even Uganda has actually beaten us in one simple thing. Maybe just at the risk of going tangential. You know, Uganda decided to commercialize its changa. It's called konyagi.
Waragi.
No, waragi.
Waragi.
Yeah, they have repackaged it in such a way that it's one of the favorite genes, and they found a market a supermarket in the US to supply. So I wonder why. That's innovation. That's taking advantage of what comparative advantage you have. Tanzania is packaging konyagi. Now we find it in our supermarkets here. You know, that's so. What innovation can we say as a country we have come up with that actually has uplifted this economy? If it's Safaricom, M-Pesa, yes, we are doing very well. In fact, in terms of ICT technology, Kenya is one of the leading countries, not just in Africa, but actually in the world. But we need to see it actually revamping our economy. So for me, I would still say 50 years down the line, we have wasted it politicking, politicking every time, instead of really building an economy that will sustain every Kenyan.
Okay. Maybe I just a quick one in closing on this. I think when I say 60%, you see, it's across the board, and 60% is not an A. It's actually a B minus. Yeah, meaning that we still have room, and all of us actually aspire for a better Kenya. But also the reality is, if you look at, for example, one of the best measures to look at, are we moving somewhere? At independence, our life expectancy was 48 years. Okay. Today it's 67. Surely we've added 19 years. So we are, even as we say, and we've added because of health. Yeah, we're able to take care of our health. Yeah, food. Yeah. The issues of the pandemic currently in the country, the famine. If it was 10 years ago, we'd now be on CNN. Yeah, looking for food, for donors. People will be taking pictures. Oxfam will be here. See, that's what we'll be doing. But today, it's still being dealt with by the government and the people. The issues of the arid and semi-arid area, I think the governors are the ones actually to blame. Turkana has been getting 13 billion a year for 10 years. And Wajir, Marsabit, all those counties have been getting huge amounts out of the equalization fund. All we are seeing is hotels being bought, estates being built in Nairobi by individuals, but the people there are still suffering. So what we need is actually to even have a system that audits how money is being spent. I think, and Dr. has said very well, corruption is actually what is ailing us. We could be going so far. Even the counties, the issue, the reason why I'm saying that health should not have been devolved is because all this money is just going into corruption. Yet the money is being dispersed. The services are being given in just in measured ways, but there's a lot of money that is going to waste. So I would still stick with the 6, saying that the country is not where it used to be, but we are also not where we want to be. There's still a lot of room for us to move. Dr. has talked about the Asian tigers. We were at par with them. South Korea today, their GDP per capita, we are struggling to get to $2,000, and now with our shilling at 114. We are backsliding on a daily basis. They are 10, 20 times more than us. So I think there's a lot that we could have done. We wasted, and we are still wasting a lot of years in politics. I look at the current term of the Jubilee administration, and I think the last term, 2013, 2017, we saw a lot of development, a lot of gains. Because we had left politics to the politicians, and had accepted that we cannot have a country without an opposition. And so we had an opposition that is taking government. In this term, we said we do not want to have an opposition. So that everyone can eat together. And that's what happened.
Round table.
One big round table, and that's what we did. We have, I think, what we have realized in the last 4 years is really minimal compared to what we could have.
But we talk, just so that we close this, and maybe just as a resolution going forward. Well, I agree with Nyakera that yes, money goes to the counties, but also when we talk about Kenya at 50, it is the national. It is the national 58. It's the national that is speaking. It's the national that's saying we have improved. But riding on his point that yes, you sent 13 million or billions of Kenya shillings to Turkana, Marsabit, and all that, and of course he has rightfully mentioned that the auditor demonstrates every year how money is being stolen, how the things that county governments promise to do for the people are not actually being effected. So then for me, the challenge going forward is that we need to fix the top in this country, because if you don't fix the top, the bottom will always be at the bottom. It is the top that actually even allocates this money, to the counties. So my proposal going forward is that we want to see the national government that's now complaining that after devolving health, but the devolving health was the best thing that ever happened. The management of personnel is not really about health. I think it's just about the salaries. And that's why we created the Salaries and Remuneration Commission in the Constitution to standardize salaries based on qualification. So they have failed there at the national. So my proposal then going forward is this. The national that is telling us that we have since improved from independence now need to follow the shilling. That shilling that goes to Turkana in its billions, what is it doing? So it is incumbent upon, for example, the executive at the national level to say, Turkana County or Marsabit County or Wajir, Mandera, we have given you these billions of Kenya shillings. You're supposed to improve people's, lives in terms of food security and all that. What have you done with the money? So I would rather see today a special jail of governors, a special jail of members of parliament, a special jail of anybody, PSS, cabinet secretaries, anybody who is given money, public money, to improve the lives of Kenyans. I think if you go that direction, then I can tell you we don't need another 10 years to be in the telecom, because this country is rich, despite all the theft that is happening to it. Can you imagine we are still standing? So we are an amazing country.
Actually, it should not be a special jail. It should be the regular jail. Actually, that should be put in.
Maybe we need to crucify them on Congo.
Nyakera, I say special jail so that we can isolate them, so they become the symbol of corruption. So we can always be visiting those, like the way we go to a zoo
for kids.
And say that guy was a PS. If you take him to regular jail, they will defizzle with the common criminals.
right, I'd like to know what score that you're giving the country 58 years post-independence, Jamhuri Day. What score are you giving the country? But before that, as I'm waiting for that, I want to go to Diaspora a little bit to get to hear what comments they also think. What scores, very quickly, what scores are you giving 58 years post-independence? I'll start with you, Joel Arama, then we'll go to Omenge, who has been missing for a very long time. Arama, jambo.
Hey, jambo, Bwana Gerald, how are you?
Salama sana, good morning. Or is it
Good
evening
morning.
there?
Bwana Ekuru, good morning.
Good morning, Joel. Mambo namna gani?
Poa sana.
Good to hear from you.
Naona mheshimiwa hapo, karibu sana. Welcome. So, first of all, Gerald, my grade is incomplete. So, right on top. But there are a couple of things that I wanted to respond to on the discussion.
Okay, very quickly.
Mheshimiwa, we already have an organization that is supposed to oversee the counties. It's called the Senate.
Absolutely.
That is not doing its job. So let's start right there. If the Senate was doing its job, all this money disappearing, they are the ones supposed to ask those questions. Where is the money? That they are not doing it. So that's where the fail is. My other point is we need to change our laws regarding corruption or theft of public funds. And I always use the example of Wario. The guy who stole so much money, he was only fined like a quarter of what he had stolen. And the guy walked out of jail the next day. It should be you return the money that you stole, and then on top of that, we are going to fine you a percentage of what you stole. So that should be in the law. But the problem is you find the maximum you can be fined is 2 million when you have stolen 10 billion. But the law says the maximum you can fine is 2 million. So that needs to be changed.
And that makes corruption in Kenya a business.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if I'm paying 2 million of 10 billion, that's pocket change.
Profit.
I mean, you know, write the check even before the judge and namuza hata nitakuongezea chai hapo juu ndio hiyo. And you walk away. Yeah. And then I just wanted to say something based on what Mheshimiwa and you guys were discussing. And I just want to put a phrase out. You do not need the opposition to do the right thing.
Okay. That's true.
All of us are Kenyans, and this is our country. We should do the right thing by our country. If you see an issue, like the phrase that is used here, when you see something, say something. You cannot sit in an office and somebody comes and tells you that, for example, let me use the example of the Ministry of Health that was supposed to deal with the COVID situation. Remember when the Mandazi and Chai fiasco came up? Who in the world spends almost $1 million for tea and Mandazi in a day? Yeah. So that is where we need to start from. But as long as we are going to glorify people who steal public funds, and you go elect them as your MPs, as your senator, as your governor, or you are telling them, and then when they come to your church, you unasema mali zimetoka ziongezeke. You are giving this guy a license to go and steal more, and then he brings you.
Na tunajua mshahara yao.
Exactly. Let's be serious for once. I mean, and I like somebody put an article, a comment on my Facebook feed as well, and he gave the example of Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany. She's been in office for 16 years and plus, still staying in the same apartment. She doesn't drive any fancy car. She doesn't have a police escort that goes from Uru Highway all the way to the other end, almost Mombasa Road. She doesn't have that. When she goes shopping, she goes by herself and her husband. Anachukua a shopping cart like anybody else, and you go shopping. The question we should ask is, why would an MP need 4 police officers protection? What are you doing so bad that you need all that protection? That is, to me, those are the questions that we are supposed to answer. And then Kuro mentioned something that really touches me also. You know, Gerald, you remember there is a feature that I think Nation did the feature about people who are in hospital even now, 3-4 years, being held back because they cannot afford to pay the bills, but they're still in the hospital.
Yep.
Mtu alipona kitambo mpaka amekuwa mgonjwa tena akapona amekuwa mgonjwa tena because you are being held because you can't afford to pay.
Actually, they're imprisoned.
Yeah. It's worse than prison.
Okay.
So these are the questions that we really need to ask. I would like to see a parliament that actually does its job, enact laws that is going to protect the citizens. Hii mambo ya kwenda kusema ati nimefungua barabara sijui tumejenga a county toilet, you a whole grown up jamani, unaenda kufungua toilet, what are you doing? These are useless things. You tell me, for example, this is some of the things that I was actually coincident you guys talking about the Kenyan win 50 years. One of the things that I would like to see is, Gerald, why would you charge, for example, ukianza biashara ya duka tu, wacha tuseme duka peke yake. How many licenses are you supposed to get?
Many.
Plenty of licenses.
Yes.
And then those licenses are renewable every year. Sasa hata wewe hata kama umetengeneza profit bwana, ni pesa ngapi umetengeneza utanunua hizo license karibu 10 every year. I would like to see, unless you are doing a big end business, anything that is generating below $1 million Kenya shillings, your license should be once every 5 years.
Right.
If it's below 500,000, your license should be once every 10 years.
Right.
And it should not be duplicated. See ati national government na kucharge license, county inakuja na kucharge ingine, sijui watu ya sokoni hapo wana kucharge license ingine. No. It's just one license. Everything else they can come and do inspection. If you have a problem, inspection, health, ama nini iko mbaya, then you are fine. Then that's okay.
Right.
Then we move from being a consumer country to a producer country.
Right. Haya, asante sana chairman. Acha tusukumia wangwana wengine pia haraka mbio. Masi, mbio very quickly. Mbona pia Joel Kips ameingia, tukimbize mbio tuokoe masaa. Masi, very quickly. Mbona you are muted, Masi. Unmute yourself.
Asante sana Vitoko kuhost sisi. I know we've had our run this year. That's good. Mheshimiwa Aukot, habari?
Mzuri sana kubwa, habari yako?
Yeah, ejo kanya.
Yeah, John.
Yeah. Mamngaje?
Yes, mamngaje.
Haya, sawa. Sasa mimi niko na beef na ninyi na kwanza wewe because
okay.
When you guys created the constitution, because I mean there's so many things we are seeing in Kenya that are kind of going wrong. To be honest, in terms of the constitution, you guys give a blueprint na kila kitu, but ukiangalia mambo ya devolution na kila kitu, it seems like in as much as there was checks and balances, but something was missing or something is missing. Because why not create a Senate like here in the United States? And yet, in as much as Senate ya Kenya in a check only on counties, why not, increase their powers so that wakwe kama upper house compared to, I mean, in Kenya hasa naona kama kuna vitu they cover, but they don't cover everything. Secondly, tunakuja mambo ya, because I was writing some notes here, tukuja mambo ya, I mean, our governors are a failure, to be honest. I mean, most of the governors, in as much as we talk about corruption na kila kitu, corruption is a different case because I think it's being used by, in as much as, kama mimi natoka Trans Nzoia. So a governor will support the status quo or not, depending on the corruption case anafikiria iko against them. Asa ukienda kuna governors ambao unaona kama ya Central na kitu wanajua pengine kuna kitu ambao there's something under the rug. So inabidi pengine waanze kusupport the status quo, which is it's kind of unthinkable, but the people are suffering. So I think the Senate should have had more powers to be able to check on these people. Yes. But the Senate should have had more powers in terms of being the upper house when bills are being passed so that they can be checked by the Senate, or a Senate can come up with a bill. Like here, the House comes with a bill, the Senate comes with a bill, and then they reconcile. So I think kwa mambo ya constitution kulikuwa na hiyo mistake yenye walifanya, yenye ingetakana both houses have almost like, let me say almost similar powers. And secondly, tunaongea mambo ya corruption every day. Kenya tunaongea sijui corruption, sijui kufight sijui nini. There is no incentive to fight corruption in Kenya because watu wanapora. In Kenya, I think Aukot ameongea kitu before. From the inception of Kenya, it started with corruption. I mean, let's not lie about it. Watu wale mambo ya mashamba na kila kitu. Saizi watu wanajaribu kuaddress Pandora Papers. Ukiangalia parliament, the whole parliament itself, which is the Senate and what do you call the House. They don't. Hakuna mtu anaongea hiyo story. Ni kama imeisha. And our billion. I'm not talking about Uhuru Kenyatta's family and everything else. Naongea kuna billionaires ambao watu wametuma pesa from the time wakati ya Moi, wakati ya Kenyatta na kila kitu. Nobody's talking about that because there's no way the country can move forward when the money comes in terms of loans na kila kitu. Alafu hiyo pesa kuna watu kidogo wanapata hiyo pesa alafu wanasukuma ngambo. So how will the country build? Hata hiyo mambo sijia 9 trillion watu wanaongea ati loans na kila kitu. Kuna watu hiyo pesa walipata, pesa ikaenda outside the country. So how will that build the country?
Haya, swala nyeti. Asante sana Omenge. Joel Kibbs, very quickly.
Asante.
Bio.
Yep.
Joel, very quickly.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you.
My
How are you?
apologies for, turning up late.
And
I
pongezi tena.
think for me, it's not about the Senate. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. I think for me, it's not about the Senate per se or, I think it's about individuals who are elected to these offices.
Okay. Members
of parliament have all these powers, but they've been held hostage by the presidency and especially the executive. It's not about, say, police not doing, not being independent. It should be independent.
Okay.
But they're being held hostage by political, mercenaries that's, happening in Kenya. I think people, especially as we go to election, they should do their due diligence to elect the people whom they know they are going to serve the interests of the people and not the interests of the elites. So I think for me, my apology for turning up late, but definitely the conversation must go on.
All right. Asante sana. Thank you so much, Joel Kibbs. Coming back very quickly, there's something interesting that I've seen in the Standard today, and it says CS's orders to chiefs on Uhuru choice. Matiang'i says when the president takes a position on any matter, all provincial administration officers must take cue without fail, once again is contradicting directives. Mheshimiwa Irungu Nyakera, you have worked in government. Kunaendanga hivyo.
Yeah. In government, sorry, kona angalia hii na watch.
On the Standard today, on the headlines on the Standard, Cabinet Secretary's order to chiefs on Uhuru's choice. Matiang'i says when the president takes a position on any matter, all provincial administration officers must take cue without fail. Once again, is contradicting directives. It is political choices.
You see the way the government operates is, and it should, is the president is the one who tells who tells them how the direction to go, and because that's how he then is able to administer the country. The state officers, what the constitution is clear, and when Ekuru is here, they crafted it. Is that they are not supposed to be political, because they're supposed to serve the country. All the decisions, the things that they do, they're supposed to serve both the people in opposition and both the people in the government. If it's about the president being interested in a particular candidate, then it should not be those political choices should not be forced on the people. And even the provincial administration should not be forced then to tell people the direction to go. See, all these things have always been done, but they've been done chini ya maji, in a very subtle way. But we are seeing this time it's coming out
very strongly.
Very strongly. It's like it's being forced. And actually, it's one of the things that we were talking about, where when the minister for foreign, Matiang'i, stood and said that he supports Raila Odinga, yeah, and yet he is also the one who's sitting in all these committees to prepare the elections and the security apparatus and how these things will be carried out in a very smooth way. You see, then that's a kind of partiality that should not be there, yeah, and that's why the constitution was clear that they should not be politicking and taking sides. But then we got a judgment saying that cabinet secretaries can politic yeah, which again, I don't know whether that was the spirit of the constitution when Bwana Ekuru, they were setting it, but it's wrong, yeah. So I think there's somewhere in that we lost the soul of the country, and I think that's the one thing that we need to get back, because there are things that we are doing out of interests of today, but they will break what tomorrow looks like for us as a country.
Okay, Daktari.
So, picking from where Nyakera has left, indeed it's a very big disappointment to have people like Matiang'i in the government, CSS, but continue to actually do active politics instead of offering service to the people of Kenya. Like he rightfully said, cabinet secretaries, permanent secretaries, principal secretaries, CSS are supposed to be apolitical. They're not supposed to engage in politics. And this came from a history. Back in the days of Kanu era, under the old constitution, we had ministers, assistant ministers being appointed by the president. So they were actually serving the president more than the people of Kenya. So when we went to writing the 2010 constitution, people said they want this disengagement of politics in government, because government is about service delivery to the people. In a nutshell, that's what government is all about. So, but people like Matiang'i and others really are failing this test, because for them, they are still political. It even takes away the old notion. The spirit was that let's bring professionals who will come up with sound policies. Place those professionals in the department that they are able to actually formulate policies that eventually will serve Kenyans. But this is not what they are doing. But this culture of Matiang'is and others have been engendered by the level of impunity we see in the country, right from the very top. So for them, they think like they think now, like Nyakera has rightfully say, they don't think about tomorrow. So in other words, they actually lack wisdom. They don't have wisdom, because if they had wisdom, they would be able to see Kenya in the next 10, 15 years, and that their positions are not permanent. Tomorrow they will be civilians, and another government will be in place, and they'll be expecting the same service. And now that takes me to the same question, the question that about the Senate versus National Assembly. If listeners, I think it was Kip who asked this question, that if you read actually the harmonized draft constitution of November 2009 by the committee of experts, we were very categorical that Senate is the upper house with veto power. Okay, it is the Wetangulas, the Orengos, Uhuru Kenyatta, and Ruto, who are then in the Parliamentary Select Committee, on the constitution making process, that went to Naivasha and actually called Senate a lower house. That is well documented, and we have that report. They gave us a draft calling Senate lower house. So we asked them, where on earth is Senate ever a lower house? But remember that time the politics was so high, we had just come from a post-election violence. And so we as a committee of experts, we had to manage this very carefully. So what we did is we made the Senate functionally, like a supervisor of all the counties of Kenya. And that's why we created, must be Article 96, if I'm not wrong, of the Constitution. Okay? But even then, some of us, especially myself, who was in the committee of experts then as a director and member at the same time, were never satisfied. We really wanted to make it crystal clear that Senate must be the upper house. And that's why when you brought in Punguza Mizigo Kenya, if you remember, from 2018, 2019, and thanks to Nyakera, I think it's the only political party that came out strongly to support us in that endeavor, we were again very categorical. Let's now ensure that Senate is a upper house with veto power, even supervisory role over the National Assembly. Because the problem with the National Assembly today is being emasculated. It is the executive. It is the presidency or the former leader of opposition, who is now the deputy vice president of the Republic of Kenya. So those people today are taking a cue from the president or from Raila Odinga, and therefore they have failed one of the biggest, the cardinal rules, which is to represent the interests of the people who sent them to parliament. That's the problem. Now, on the question of corruption, it is very true that parliament and the government are the epicenter of corruption. Because today, if you read any of the audit reports, you will see that billions of money has been lost from each and every department of government, be it a ministry, a parastatal, be it a county, or whatever. But the national government is doing nothing. Why is it doing nothing? It's doing nothing because money is also lost at the very top, and they cannot moralize anyone. So Kenya imekuwa tu ni shamba la wanyama. Mtu anakuja anavuna, anaenda zake. Anavuna, anaenda zake. That's why, corruption has become a business. In fact, one of the most lucrative businesses in Kenya today is to investigate corruption. So if I steal, for example, 10 billion Kenya shillings, and the guy who is coming to investigate me earns, I think, 50,000 shillings, a month, me, I'll just do a cost-benefit analysis, and I tell him, my friend, with 50,000, me, I can give you 1 million.
Na wachana na historia.
Na jamaa tuachana because it's a pragmatism. I mean 50,000 ajalipa loan ako sijui na loan ya nini. So akipatia 1 million or even 2 million, he will take, and this guy walks away with 9.8 million Kenyan shillings. It's business.
Right. Yeah. On the same paper, before I go back to Diaspora, on the same paper there's a story and it's about the wars between Uganda and Kenya on products. Uganda has threatened to bar Kenyan products from entering into Ugandan market. And the biggest question has been, Kenya's also been in trouble with Tanzania recently. Tanzania as well was issuing the same sanctions against Kenyan products. Have we failed in our foreign policy strategy in ensuring that our people are able to benefit? Because Kenya has almost become a warehouse economy. Everything is coming in here. We're not doing any manufacturing. Our farmers, as you're saying, they are on their knees. They don't do any processing here. Tea goes out there. When you go at the cost of coffee in Dubai, Kenyan coffee in Dubai is prime dollar. But in Kenya, the farmer suffers. But anyway, let's look at the Kenyan relationships with its neighbors in terms of economic benefits. Have we lost the foreign policy and strategy?
I think, Doc, personally, I don't think that we have a coherent foreign policy.
Okay.
We have the East Africa community, and we seem to be the only ones who don't benefit from the East African community. Over the years, we are net importers, even from the East Africa community. We are importing everything, even on things that are hurting our farmers. You know the issues we're having with Comesa on the sugar. You know the issue we're having with Uganda and the others on the chicken, on the milk. So we're discussing. I saw the president had gone to Turkey about 2 months ago. And I asked whether the president talked about our tea in Turkey. And I was told no. Turkey charges us 142.5% tax on tea imported from Kenya. China does not even allow samples, tea samples from Kenya to go into China. Wow. The place like the US, we are currently working on the bilateral, the free trade agreement. In the free trade agreement, we are not putting tea or coffee or our agriculture products, which are major, in the agreement. So we don't. So I was speaking with the Ministry of Trade. I'm asking, can Saudi Arabia have any bilateral agreement, trade agreement with a country without mentioning its oil? They can't. I was in Egypt. Egypt is our second largest importer of tea to Kenya, but that's the only thing we trade with Egypt. So the embassy and they don't even on that tea itself. They have nobody who sells it. So that's what I'm saying. We do not have a coherent foreign policy, and we were saying that our foreign embassies, I think we have about 50 something of them. Those should actually be commercial centers for selling Kenya and the products. So that Kenya stops being a net importer of everything. As Daktari started, we do not manufacture anything. And we do not stop anyone from importing anything that then replaces local the production. So you find that even local manufacturers complain. They're like, our electricity is expensive, our cost of logistics is very high. We are at around 35%. When developed countries are at about 4-5%, meaning that they can manufacture anything and sell it to us at a much cheaper price. So So if we allow anybody to import anything or to us without aspiring our own environment, our manufacturing environment, then we have our jobless youth. They have no jobs. We are not consumers of our own produce, because then so I think generally what we are seeing, you're talking about the issues with Uganda and Tanzania and the others. I think it's just we are not focused on commercializing our foreign policy, whereby we get value as a country, we market our produce, and we create jobs for our people.
Okay. Daktari.
You know, for me, Bitok, this issue of our Kenya's foreign policy, we have the policy. It may not be coherent, as Nyakera has said, but for me, I will speak from a different perspective. It starts with the leadership of a country. The leadership of every country must be firm. It must demonstrate love for its country and its people. It must be strong. It must be seen as patriotic, as actually advancing its country's prosperity in the global agenda. Unfortunately, that's not what obtains in our country. Our leadership is subservient. It's not very firm. It's not very strong. In fact, look at it from the example. For example, how can you go to Turkey, like Nyakera said, when the context about trade and not talk about tea, not talk about coffee? Especially if you come from that region where tea and coffee are grown. How can you not speak about such a product? You know, where, for example, Egypt is the biggest importer of our tea. You know, we are competing with the Arabica in Ethiopia and others, Brazil and all that. How can you not talk about that? That's the question of leadership in a country. Go to the question of immigration. I work, for the last couple of months, I've been working in South Sudan. Kenyans are harassed regularly in South Sudan. In spite of the fact that we don't have to apply for a visa today in South Sudan, but South Sudanese, on the other hand, have introduced what they call, you must register as an alien. We don't require the same of them here. So it's about our leadership in negotiating.
They're walking in freely.
Exactly. So for a Kenyan, and if you don't do that, you're actually kind of getting punished. So same thing when I worked in Liberia. Liberians, a very small country of about 3 million people, they will come here and I'll get a visa on arrival. But a Kenyan, I'll be forced to apply before I leave. So our reciprocity policy is not working for the benefit of Kenyans. And that's why you can see a lot of reports about Kenyans suffering and being killed in Saudi Arabia, but you will never hear our leadership speak about it. In Uganda, I've seen Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, when a Ugandan is being tortured or something happens to a Ugandan in South Sudan, President Yoweri Museveni actually flies in person to have a meeting and find out what exactly happened to my South Sudanese. So for me, this question of foreign policy revolves around the leadership of a country. It also, so that's the bottom line. Do I want my country to be respected? How do I want my country to be seen internationally? So if the leadership doesn't care, I mean, then other countries will not care. And to be honest with you, that's the bottom line. They know that Kenya's leadership doesn't really care about Kenyans out there. And a Kenyan national, wherever they are, extends the jurisdiction of a country. That is Kenya. So we must take the interest of that Kenyan very seriously, wherever that Kenyan might be. So should anything, that's why you see Americans, even with a dictatorship like North Korea, when one of their own or their people are being held there, they will negotiate, they will even send special envoys, including I think the former President Bill Clinton was sent, to go and actually negotiate for the release of some some Americans. So we don't see that in Kenya. I mean, I see in the region, I'm lucky to have worked in a number of countries in Africa, and I know many situations Kenyans go through, but the leadership in this country doesn't care. So cumulatively, other governments see that we don't really have a foreign policy that is strong enough that protects the interests of Kenya, be it in trade, be it in immigration, or just the interests of Kenyans wherever they are. That for me is the bottom line. Leadership. And that's why for me, as ThirdWay Alliance Kenya, we keep on saying, the problem is not the bottom. The problem for us is the top. Okay. If you fix the top, the bottom will conform.
Right. Nagat Geoffrey, after independence, we should have chosen the right tools for achieving our goals as a country. No country has ever achieved development if the tools they are using is corruption, tribalism, nepotism, disrespect to the rule of law. Rosemary Kabuge, the biggest problem in Kenya is that we have too many functional illiterates. Bet Gideon, good morning. On attack class, let's go out in the fields. That after pesa, have a great day. Bit of my regards to Dr. Ekuru Aukot. It's on Facebook and YouTube. Chris Kama, Edwin Nguyo, good morning. Evans Guli, good morning to you. Arama, you can combine the two.
Yes. I liked the statement from the listener who said functional. What did you say? Functional
illiterates.
Illiterates.
Yes. The problem in Kenya is that we have a lot of functional illiterates. Too many functional illiterates.
I mean, Gerald, and I'm sorry to bring this up again, but it really gets. Remember the last time we had a conversation with Honorable Sunkuli when he came to the show?
Yes.
And I was really heated up the way he addressed his fellow countrymen when he went to find out he was actually on a mission sent by the government or as a representative. And the statement he gave in public was to call Kenyan prostitutes. Now, who is going to listen to you after that? Everybody knows a member of parliament is a very powerful person in government. Yeah. So if your member of parliament is calling you all kinds of names, who is going to listen to you? That's where we need to start from. Like I said, if we don't do the right thing, if we don't love our country, if we don't love ourselves, nobody's going to do that for us. You go out here, and I give that example all the time. Remember when we had a terrorist threat? The US, Germany, France sent planes to Mombasa, not even Nairobi, Mombasa, and picked up all its citizens out. Sisi watu walikuwa China na COVID wanatandikwa kwa barabara, unaambia bwana wewe jisort, tutatuma ndege lakini lazima ulipe fare na unalipa 3 times. For heaven's sake.
Yep.
If you cannot stand up for your citizens, then what is the point of you having you as a government? What is the point of you being an ambassador in a country? What is the point of you being the Minister for Foreign Affairs? If you cannot articulate anything, it's very sad when the Mheshimiwa anasema ati the trade delegation goes to a country and you don't even speak of what you have. It means you're not even proud of your country.
Exactly.
Jamani, we have fish in Kisumu, Turukana, and then tunaenda kuimport samaki kutoka China na ni samaki plastic. Let's even talk about the maize, aflatoxin maize and sugar that you brought to the country.
Yeah.
And you stand up and tell people, oh, the sugar was contaminated with mercury. Up to today, Gerard, ni wangapi wameshikwa wamewekwa jela because of that mercury importation? Zero. And people are dying because that thing you ingest is not going to show right away. It will take a couple of years before you start seeing the effects. Then you start seeing people dying with very strange diseases you cannot even diagnose because we don't have the equipment, we don't have the process, we have no way to find out what is ailing people. The only default tunaenda where kuna jirani yako alikuangalia vibaya. That's all people say. Enda uone mzee wa miti huko akusaidie. Kumbe wewe cancer inakumaliza and you have no idea. Your body has been poisoned. You drank that tea with mercury and it's poison that kills you slowly. That's where we actually need to start from. It's very unfortunate. When I saw that article about Uganda retaliating back, I started laughing because it brought me one thing. Remember the Migingos fiasco?
Yes.
I remember maritime dispute na Somalia on the other side.
Then we have a Lemi triangle with South Sudan.
Are you telling me, Gerald, hii country mzima vile tuko hivi, we don't have lawyers, our lawyers naona hapa Aukot and everybody else who can actually go and stand and defend this country to the fullest? And I'm sure some of them, just the honor of representing the country, watasema hiyo bora nilipia chakula na mali ya kulala, I'm okay. they can offer that service. 'Cause even
Arama,
one of the
the problem is not us lawyers. We are there and we have got very tough
Exactly.
lawyers in this country. The question
Yes.
is the leadership. Is the leadership willing? Why is the leadership of Kenya allowing Uganda to bully us over, an island that, we've
Yes.
had for all these years? South Sudan, we have helped South Sudan for many, many decades. We are hosting them here. They still can play around with us. Somalia, the same thing. It boils down to, Arama, to the weak and fakeless leadership that we have in this country that does not prioritize Kenya's interests. Simple as that.
Yeah. Because for me, one of my friends had gone to visit the Kenyan embassy in Washington, D.C. A few years back. He called me when he was there, akasema, my friend, I am so embarrassed of being a Kenyan because the counter was full of dust. Inje nyumba inaanguka, ceiling imebomoka, yani it's full of mold. Akasema, we have Kenyans here who are builders. I'm telling you, if you could have said, hey, Wakenya, we need you to come and paint. My friend, ningeeka gari yangu mafuta niende DC nichukue rangi na nipake. I mean, I paint my house. I can do the same. But it's because you do not even have a pride for what you represent. You don't even have a pride of your own country. All you are busy about is what can I get?
Right.
Who can give me money and I sell you access to whatever you are bringing. Gerald, when I come from Kenya, coming back, when I visit home and I come back, ukifika kwa airport unauliza umebeba nini? Unapewa declaration form kwa ndege, unajaza. Ikikuja unaulizwa, inakuwa scanned even before you say anything. Your luggages have been scanned everywhere. Dogs have been dispatched to sniff everything. Wamefungua, wako na some needles wanapasua hivi kama nimebeba unga yangu ya wimbi, wanapasua, wanatoa, wanatest quickly to make sure that is not drugs. Alafu kikuja hapo mtu anakuuliza what do you have in your bag? They're just asking you, but they already know. Sisi hapo utakuja, you have everything that comes, you have no idea. Because at the end of the day, all I have to do, somebody just goes and bribes somebody and bam, mtu import whatever he imports, you don't know. Even remember the issue of the Westgate Mall when it was attacked. Some of the people wanasema, a taxi driver dropped these guys at the gate. Where these guys were staying, somebody was paid, was it 2 years worth of rent? My friend, why don't you ask yourself a question? How can this person afford to pay me 2 years of rent na nakaa kwa nyumba the whole day aendi kazi? We don't ask those questions. All we look is me. As long as nimepata yangu, wengine watajipanga.
The shida yake, the shida ni njaa bwana, tunaumia Wanjiku. In fact, we need to stop talking about the state of the nation and start talking about the state of Wanjiku.
Exactly.
Menga, very quickly.
Yeah.
Masalo zinatukimbiza. Manuel Menga, very quickly.
Yangu si mengi, yangu ni kusema, there's some few questions I have for Wakili Ekuru Aukot, because in terms of one thing I have a problem is that asa mambo ambao mawakili mnajaribu ku represent kama tulikuwa naona kama wakati Sonko alikuwa na kesi, unapata watu wa Senate lawyers kama kina what they call Kilonzo Jr. and everything, ama Murkomen wanna represent. What are the laws against that? Because in the United States, ukikuwa elected, you cannot work ama kufanya kazi. Hiyo kazi yako mawachana nayo. Unaweza kuwa na your own law firm na kila kitu, but you cannot represent these people, especially because it creates a conflict of interest. Ama sijui kama unaona namna gani, but I think that's what it is. Secondly, my own point before wachana session, because the thing is, in Kenya, we have not had a change tangu wakati ya independence in terms of leadership. The same names, ukiangalia saizi hata kama tuseme Raila ashinda next year, if someone who died in 1975 ama 1970 ama kila kitu atafikiria in Kenya, we never had a change because we have the same last names in leadership in Kenya. We will never have a change. To be honest, we have the Odingas, we have the Kenyattas, we have kama your mama anaitwa Susan Kiika, whatever. It's all the same people who are there. What do you think needs to change in Kenya in terms of, because I think hata mambo hii kure inafanyika vile naona ati kuna maviama imeanzisha, sijui niliona Jimmy Kibaki ameanzisha yake, sijui nani mwingine ameanzisha yake. We have a problem because the status quo will never let this go. Hata wakati Kibaki aliingia, into office, Walita second liberation, it wasn't. It's the same people in power. I would like for you to address that. Alafu, there's another thing I was writing here in terms of mambo ya kina Matiang'i. What happened in terms of the constitution? Because I'm not a lawyer, why did they not come up with something to be able to prevent these people from engaging in politics? Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Asante. Grace kama Nyakera is another incoming bright mind. Matiba from Wasoil in Muranga, brilliant mind. Asante sana. Gibet, there comes a time when the top will topple. It can once. Or I say I to Irungu Nyakera is such a brilliant guy, and the incoming governor Muranga County. Karis John, Dr. Ekuru, the feasibility report relied on to justify Turkana wind power project can be traced. Kihalangwa said he has not had a chance to see the study despite calling for it several times. It could not be located at the headquarters. The regulator has said they don't have it, he said. Ketako equally said they don't have it. Yeah.
Let me say just one more thing.
All right.
Aukot, what happened to mafuta ya Turkana?
As Gary end tour,
yes.
It's on holiday. Karis John, a weak economy like ours can't negotiate anything for its citizens. Ours is a nosedive economy. Now, Kenya Power, we've lost billions through Kenya Power, through the Turkana Wind Power Project. Nobody seems to have any report on it. The developer of the wind power project has slapped billions of money on Kenya Power for failure to absorb the energy that's come in, according to the PPA that they had. And the government has not revised, as it was said, that they're going to revise the PPPs, or was it the PPS, power purchase agreements that we had earlier. Yes, mwenyewe akuja ama tufanyaje Nyakera? Kama endelee kutumana ama ashuke mwenyewe.
You see, the issue, the biggest issue is actually the energy mix that we had, and you saw even in the report that was given, the task force that was looking at the cost of electricity. You'll find that the easiest thing to build are the thermos. Yeah, those are very quick, and you find that then they're not given to anybody. They are given to the who's. If you ask for the ownership of all those thermos that we are paying 20-30 cents US cents, they are all owned by individuals who've been in power, who are in power. And then those thermos have two charges. One is called the capacity charge, and one is called the energy charge. So the capacity charge, you are charged any day, every single day, because you told them build 40 megawatts. They will be charging you on a daily basis for megawatts, for 40 megawatts. The energy charge is what they charge you now for what they produce. And you'll find that they'll always want to produce. Yeah. So the issue is that, you see, like Turkana Wind was supposed to provide a base because of the area that it is located in Turkana. Actually, it's in Marsabit. This is actually in Marsabit. They actually have a permanent, it's like a permanent flow of wind. So unlike some areas where wind is intermittent, here it is permanent. But then the cost of transmission was very high because this is the transmission all the way from Turkana to Naivasha, where then you connect it to the national grid. And that's where all the corruption happened. So the main corruption was not even in the PPA. The corruption was even the organization that had been given the tender award by Ketraco. It collapsed. It was bankrupt. They got another one, getting the leeway. They buying the land across to build the transmission line was another issue. So that's where the string of corruptions rose. But you see now, the PPA is such that once you commit to me that you're buying my power, then you allow me to even go to the bank to borrow, to build. So when you stop, when you're not taking it from me, then I'll have to charge you. So, and that's what happened. And I think we have to deal with the PPAs. We have to be very careful how we deal with the PPAs. One is we have to accept that mistakes were done. And then all those people, corrupt people who did these mistakes, they were not, they have to be brought to book because they were not innocent mistakes. They were making money. Yeah, so they have to be brought to book. How we deal with the PPAs, because all these PPAs are backed, by KPLC and government guarantee, even if it's not direct. It is what will give our private sector the confidence to deal with government, because if a government can commit to that it will buy my power for 25 years and I went and took a loan, then 2 years later I'm told, sorry, I will no longer be buying your power, then it becomes for future, because we'll still need them in the future. Then it just becomes a piece of paper.
So you are paying for power you have never used.
Yes, you'll pay for power that you never used, but that you committed to buy. Yeah. Okay. And you see these studies that were being done, the studies of consumption and production. And that's actually where you look at how do we ensure that Kenyans will never get to a point of blackouts because there's no power. But at the same time, you also have to ensure that you're not producing twice the amount of power that Kenyans need, because Kenyans are still going to be the ones who pay for that power. So it's that we need to have a proper energy mix, and that's even where the thermos were coming in. But then even as we get cheaper hydros, as we get cheaper wind, as we get cheaper the solar, we still running the thermos. I see the one hapa Thika, moshi inatoka every day hata kama kunanyesha. Unashangaa kwani sasa what is going on? So I think the biggest thing dragging this country behind is corruption and our tolerance of it.
And that corruption takes me to the questions that have been asked about why some senators are working when, to be honest with you, they are violating the constitution. Must be either Article 78 or 79 that prohibits engagement in other gainful employment once you are drawing money from the consolidated fund. So they are doing it against the constitution. But like former PS Nyakera said, it's because of impunity and because of corruption. You see, corruption is not only just about stealing money. It's also about your behavior, your conduct. So we're dealing with a corrupt leadership from parliament to government. So that's why you'll see these leaders just ignore all this. The constitution is outrightly clear. They're not allowed to do that. And on the question of course Matiang'i and politics, again, I would say the same thing. This is just impunity at its best. They know that they're good. And that's why Matiang'i could openly say, we will follow what the president says. It's basically, I saw Matiang'i, Eugene Wamalwa, I don't know who else. They're now just openly dancing in political rallies, even officiating the launch of new political rallies. So they have abandoned their offices. They are not working anymore. You've had PS Kibicho also, I think, come out strongly to say who they support. These are public servants. They shouldn't really be taking sides. They should be neutral to all Kenyans. Because today, I wonder whether Ekuru Aukot as a ThirdWay Alliance Kenya or Irungu as DP can actually get service from those offices, especially if we are opposed to Raila or opposed to Ruto. Yet these cabinet secretaries have taken a stand. Now, on the Kenya, on Mafuta Turkana is another corruption scandal. First of all, many Kenyans do not have the facts. The oil blocks, the 5 oil blocks in Turkana, are actually owned by some private companies, not even by the government of Kenya. It started with Africa Oil. I think it went into another company, Then what they do, they just sell them. They sell these blocks to other people. They make billions and they disappear. Tallow oil, fact number 2, is not really a oil, what can I say? It's only a risk taker. Tallow oil only prospects. Once it prospects, it ups its shares, whether in Australia or New York. It trades using the messaging. Oh, we have discovered oil in Turkana. It's commercially viable. That time their shares go up, they sell. So it's a business. So these people are using our own natural resources to actually trade.
So where is
now in 2012, when I was the legal counsel for Turkana County Council at the time, I proposed a tripartite agreement between Turkana County Council, Government of Kenya, represented by the Ministry of Petroleum at that time. I think it was Kiraitu Murungi was then an engineer, Nyoike, and of course tallow oil. Ile vita nilipigwa bitok from our own politicians. They came up with something called Turkana Leadership Forum. So today as we speak, We don't know where this mafuta is. They talk about commercial viability of this mafuta. We don't even know. The last time we saw was mafuta was being transported, I don't know, to be purified wherever, and we have not seen it come back. So some of us have argued that for this mafuta to impact Kenya's economy, why not even build a local refinery in Turkana and let Turkana County be the capital county of oil production in Kenya? That is how we can industrialize this country. If you don't exploit resources from a country, from a county, from a region, and industrialize them, then there's no way we can take Kenya to industrialization. We should be able to see industrialization of coal mining in Kitui, Mui region in Kitui, Tiomin in Kwale, if it's gold in Kakamega, even tea, we should see tea being packaged in Muranga, in Kirinyaga, in Nyeri. And let's even have hotels in those tea plantations. If you go to South Africa, you go to the wine, one of the must-visit places in South Africa is Cape Town. And you have to do what they call the wine... Stellenbosch. But the wine drives, they call them the wine drives. So you can go to a wine estate in South Africa. There is a nice restaurant, there is even a hotel accommodation. You don't need, in the middle of, a vineyard. Why can't we have the same? Can't we have a hotel in the middle of a tea plantation, a coffee plantation, where we can actually see this coffee being done? That's how we can uplift the economy of this country. So the same story with Turkana oil. They're just siphoning it, and we don't see it. It's not impacting. They're not even compensating the people. Remember, these are nomadic pastoralists. So the land is they are culturally attached to the land,
Right. As a world that it is for us. Okay. Which reminds me as well, we had a oil refinery in Changamwe. I don't know what happened to it. Mang Juguna General tell Irungu to go to be sworn in today. Allah, mtafuta Biblia. Nataka kukulisha Irungu Nyakera Biblia. All right. Ambassador Sam Brown, Irungu Nyakera, the brightest and most visionary young man you'll ever come across. Thank you. Salma Wambo Njeri, because no one can clean up the mess from top. I'm happy that Irungu Nyakera is doing his best to help the bottom farmers in all he can, and the little shillings that we are added to the tea farmers is great thing that, and I believe the best is yet to come. Why is World Bank funding these corrupt government deals like IPPS? Right? Mang Juguna Gerald that we have already sworn him as the governor. Mang Juguna from Katanga. Why are international institutions funding corruption?
As you're saying, they're also in business. As you're saying, World Bank is a bank. Their job is actually to lend. And you see, it's not just money. It's influence. And I think people need to understand there's all this global play and Kenya now being also in the UN Security Council. It means that they also need their vote in a lot of things that they're doing. So it's all about influence, and the deals are usually cut of, yes, we will fund you on this, or your economy is struggling, is sinking, but now then you need to move some of your loans from China to here to IMF. So we'll always get funded, one way or another, because a country is a good concern. I mean, that's one thing we need to appreciate, that this country will be there even in 100 years. We will not be there, but the country will be there. So it's a going concern. So even any borrowing, the lending is then assumed that it's the future generation that will pay for it, because it will still be paid for. We will struggle. So what we are doing in most instances is actually that we are putting a huge burden on our children. And I know I had mentioned to you that I'm going to Muranga. We have an AGM that I have to attend. And so one thing I would just want to mention is the issue of the economy, because this issue of the World Bank and the others have been raised. When Kibaki left government, he left us with about 1.7 trillion shillings in debt. He left us with a shilling that the exchange rate was about 67, 65 there. Today, we have about 8.4 trillion in debt, and an exchange rate that hit 114. That's not even the most concerning thing. The most concerning is that over 50% of that debt is actually foreign debt. So when you have foreign debt, it's not it is not in your control. You see, there is a time when we mentioned that Japan is 100% GDP, debt to GDP is 100%, but all their debt is local. If you have
They're using their currency actually.
use your currency, it means that you can print money. Yeah, the CBK can print money, deal with inflation later, and pay off debt. When your debt is dollar based, with every shilling movement in dollar, because we have about 4.2 trillion in dollar debt, our foreign currency debt, then it means that for every 1 shilling movement, you create local debt of 42 billion. Yeah. So now that we have moved from around 111 to 114, it means that this year we have created new debt of about 120 billion. Just from currency moving, just from that movement in currency. But nobody seems to be talking about that, and nobody seems to care about that. The fact that today we are using about 66% of our ordinary tax collections to pay debt, yeah, and we are not even at the height of it. It means that next year it will be worse. It means that you're left with 34% of your money to handle your recurrent, to handle your development, and that's why we're actually going against PFM Act to pay recurrent expenditures through borrowings, through additional borrowings. And you see, the biggest problem that we have today is the legislature, Parliament. Parliament went to bed with the executive. Parliament does everything that the executive says that they do.
It's an extension of that.
It's an extension. So Parliament went and moved the debt ceiling from 6 trillion to 9 trillion. Now they were in discussion to move it to 12 trillion. And you can imagine what that does to us as a country, because it means that everyone in a department, state department, what they do is when they're working on the budgets for next year, instead of using a zero-based budget where you start with, let's assume we have 0, how do we budget up? They come and say, last year we did 20 billion for this department, so this year let's budget now for plus 10% or plus 20%, because we have to have the biggest budget in East Africa. So you end up with 22 trillion. But how do you fund it? You fund it through debt. We've become a country of mega deals. Nobody wants to make small money anymore. So everybody wants their department or their ministry to have a big deal, a big contract, a big tender, because that's where they'll eat. And because the nation, at the highest leadership level, we have not seen the need to actually tighten the belt, to actually see the looming fiscal crisis that's coming to hit us, then all these things are allowed to go on. The expressway, all these things were good. You see, the infrastructure is good, but sometimes even you talk at home, you might really want a very big fridge, yeah. But tunaambia bibi, let's do this. Let's wait for this year to end. Then we'll do the medium fridge next year. Then the very big fridge in 5 years, yeah. Because you're looking at your pocket, you're looking at your bank account, and so we are making decisions that we wouldn't make if we were doing it for our own sake. Yeah, we are making decisions for country that we wouldn't make. We are making some very responsible decisions. And what it does, it will kill the tomorrow, but it will also harm us today. Because when we are unable, if you look at that 120 billion, I'm telling you, we've lost. Imagine if we had borrowed that 120 billion and paid pending bills. You can imagine what kind of economic stimulus that will have become, because that is money that goes directly to people who went to banks and borrowed, to people who've told their creditors, wait for me, to people who've not paid their workers bonuses or salaries. It will be money to them and not money to offshore accounts. So I think with the issue of the economy is one that we've taken so lightly, is one that nobody's talking about. When I saw Raila saying that he'll give every Kenyan youth 6,000 shillings. I'm like, this is madness. But and he repeated it, I thought
Friday.
I thought it was a slip of the tongue, but he repeated it, severally.
You are shocked that they repeated.
Yeah, you do the math, it's about 500 billion. Why are you getting 500 billion when you're not giving counties 320 billion?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think we really need to the issue of the bottom up economy. I think in my view the top trickle down economy has failed us, and the bottom up economy is what can work. But whether it's right or wrong, what I like about it is that it has made us to talk about the economy and to prioritize the economy, and everybody's like, okay, so what economic model should we employ to uplift the Wanjiko? Daktari has made a good point that actually if you fix the top, everything will flow. Maybe it's true, yeah. So at least now we are talking about the economy, because the economy is really the supreme.
Finally, we are talking about the economy. All right, guys, this is our last run for the year. It's been all running 365 days as we're looking up for the last year. I want to take the last remarks. I'll start with you, Arama, very quickly. Ndio tufunge kwa sababu waziri akona mkutano pale Murang'a. We take the last round. I'll start with you, Arama. Just mambo ya kufunga mwaka.
Wacha tufunge mwaka. First of all, thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for coming and having a very sober and informative discussion, looking at things on both ways, both sides, and really appreciate that. I always have hope. I have hope for people like you. I have hope for people like Mheshimiwa Aukot. I have hope of people like Gerald, who can actually get their time to open up platform for us to discuss these things and generally educate one another. So very appreciative. I wish everybody, a wonderful holiday. Be careful on the roads. Na musienda kugonga sana, murudi mkiwa salama. So all the best, guys, and thank you so much, Gerald, for this opportunity. Looking forward for another discussion next year.
Asante.
We wish you the best as well.
Let me take your remarks, Irungu, so I can release you very quickly. Your last remarks on our last run for the year.
I think for me it's just to wish everyone a happy festive season. I think when we are home, let's not forget that on 8th of January kids go back to school. So let's not spend all our money. Sherehe. Watoto wakae nyumbani after that. But I think tukifika Christmas tunakumbuka pia ni birthday ya Yesu, si yetu. Kwa hivyo tusikasherekea kuliko Yesu vile alisherekea. Yeah, so that we are all safe. Na tupange tujue 2022 is coming. It's about us. Let's make it about us and not about the politicians. Let's do what will make us a better country, what will offer us something better. It is not always okay to run with the wave. I think just run with your heart. Whatever tells you that this will deliver for me a country that I crave for. Atiara nikienda America naonanga it is so beautiful, but unajua after a week unarudi kwenyu. So at least let's make this country what we'd want of all the places that we visit. Happy Christmas and happy festive.
Thank you. Asante sana. Daktari, it's been a pleasure, but we've been running it with you.
Yeah.
A regular year. Even sure that you secure Fridays. It will not be an year we don't honor you for ensuring that you're always on the tackle every week and giving us the value that you've given us. I want to take your remarks.
Thank you so much, Bitok. I mean, like PS Nyakera, I also want to wish Kenyans all the best during this festive season. And I think, like he said, let's also be careful. Tusifurahi sana. Tusahau mambo ya next year. Tunajua pia corona imetuchapa sana mwaka hii. Uchumi imezoroteka. Mambo sio mzuri. Kwa hivyo let's make correct choices. And even as we are being urged about 2022, I mean, I think take into consideration all the things that we have discussed throughout this year, issues of corruption, issues of better governance, our own interests as Kenyans, not necessarily of that as that of individuals. So I would say as we go to this festive season, I think also pray. I mean, I wish that the religious in us can actually reflect on how we make choices for our country, especially choices in leadership. Many times me, I've really wondered that when you see Kenyans in a church, the way they pray, vile wananyenyekea, you'll think this is heaven. You'll think this is heaven on earth. But the moment watu wakitoka kwa hiyo nyumba ya Mungu, they become Turkana, Kalenjin, Kikuyu, sijui from where. If you are Kikuyu, you have become from Murang'a, sijui wapi. You know, Luyas, we all know a tribe called Luyas, lakini ikifika mambo ya siasa, sisi wa Bukusu, Maragoli, sijui nini. Ukienda Luo Nyanza, unasikia sijui watu wa Kavirondo South, Kavirondo North, Siaya. So me, I just think maybe we take this time, let's reflect, add on our country, and maybe ask ourselves the question, how do I make my contribution towards a better Kenya? Maybe not for us now as parents, but for the benefit of our children and their children. Because the way we guys are struggling now, really struggling even to make ends meet, I really doubt our children. If we don't fix Kenya, I doubt our children and their children are able to actually survive the way us guys have survived today. So I think it's incumbent upon us that we actually ensure we contribute to a better Kenya for all of us.
Asante sana. Thank you guys for being part of this broadcast for the whole year. Thank you for the support. Thank you so much, Arama. You've been a great supporter of this project. You've been with us, and thank you as well for being a very integral part of this, all the way from America. You've ensured that you've even built your own show. That's it, that you guys run around Diaspora. You've been committed to it. You put your time aside. Sometimes you don't sleep to ensure that the program runs. Thanks as well for being the link that you've been. You know how you've been important to this. I don't want to announce. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a special...
Gerald, and please tell Kenyans able to jivunia kuwa wa Kenya.
Tujivunie kuwa wa Kenya.
In the true sense of it, sio tu by words. In the true sense of it. Let's be proud of being Kenyans.
Thank you so much, Tacklers, as well. You have been with us. We really appreciate you. And John Jage, thank you so much for always making our days as well. I can see Davis Kelman. Thank you, Ezekiel. I can see Nyakera Jama. Anakuwa na Edwin Guyo. Grace Kamau. Thank you guys for always being on Tackle every single day. I will say this, without you, the Tackle could never be. You're looking forward to a new year next year. And God willing, we are going to be better and be able to bring the broadcast in a better way and ensure as well that give you quality broadcast as we move forward beginning in the year 2022. I want to issue a Merry Christmas. I want to issue Happy Festive Season. I declare that none of you shall leave us in this festive season. We shall meet again in January. Enjoy your holidays.
And we talk about wachunge pia hii Omicron. It's around.
COVID is around.
Now
so
we
please
have
sanitize and
few
mask.
cases, yeah.
And I don't understand. What is standing between you and vaccination? Please get vaccinated. If you're not been vaccinated, know that you are the weakest link in the fight against COVID-19. Until then, see you and bye-bye. We love you.